Welcome to my show, simply entitled Women Influencers. I am Veronica Malolos, CCIM, founder and CEO of Capstack Commercial, a commercial real estate company serving the greater Orlando area. Today's guest is Diego Leiva, one of the most recognized Hispanic businessmen, a mentor to many, including many women, and just an all-around great guy. Please don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe below. I'll welcome your comments and please share with someone who can benefit from this podcast. Well, hello, Diego. How are you today?
Very well. Thank you, Veronica. How about yourself?
I am good. It's still so hot in Florida, and I know you're from South Florida, but nonetheless, it's great to have you. Thank you so much for spending the time with us today. I wanted to jump right in, if you don't mind, and ask you about your story. I'm always so intrigued by people's stories. Tell us how you grew up in your environment and how you got to where you are today.
Well, first of all, thank you for allowing me to be part of this amazing podcast. I think this is a great thing that you're doing, not only for women, but also for men, so that we all realize how important it is to cooperate and collaborate with each other. When we raise each other up, we all raise together. So that's an amazing thing that you're doing. So just to give you a little bit of background, I'm a Cuban immigrant. I came to the United States when I was 15 years old. I came straight to New York City. I grew up in Cuba in a very small town, 3,000 people. And my first, within 30 days, I went to high school. My high school was in Washington Heights, New York City, and there were 10,000 kids there. So it was not only shocking to be in a place where there were so many big buildings and so many people around the neighborhood, but now in this high school, now we had 10,000 kids, 3 times more of the people that we had in my town. So it was very shocking. And of course, I didn't speak English at all when I came in. So I took a very intense English process so that I could catch up with the rest of the high school population. I wanted to be an astronaut.
Wow.
That was my goal because we're talking about early 60s lunar missions and so forth. And so I applied to New York University School of Engineering because that would give me an ability to go into the space program as an engineer, rather, since I was not a pilot. And I would have been competing with all the Air Force people and Navy people for those positions. Unfortunately, I was not accepted into NYU School of Engineering. So I continue to persevere, and I called the dean of admission at NYU. And after 50 phone calls, the secretary of the dean said, "Okay, listen, if you stop calling me, I'm going to give you 5 minutes with him so you can state your case." I said, "Perfect." So I got an appointment. I got in. I told him what I wanted to do. He looked at my transcript. And he said, "Well, normally what we do is you apply to multiple schools. Some will accept you, some will not. You go to the ones that accept you, and that should be the process." I said, "Well, no, but I only applied to one school, New York University."
That is so awesome.
So
wow, I can't wait
after
to
5
hear
minutes, after 5 minutes of discussion with him, he said, "Okay, let me do this for you. I'm going to put you through a program that we have here." At that time, of course, we had the Vietnam War, and NYU had a big process with the Army to do psychological testing and so forth. So it's not going to cost you anything. You just have to spend a week with us through the testing. So I went through my testing with them. 3 weeks later, I got a call back from the secretary. He said, "Okay, you got another 5 minutes. Come and see the dean." So I go back in, and he said, "Well, I got good news and I got bad news." I said, "Well, okay, what's the bad news first?" He said, "Well, based on your score, your aptitude and attitude and everything that we tested you for, I don't believe that you will make a great engineer. However, you're off the chart in business and entrepreneurship. So what we're willing to do is give you full scholarship to the School of Business.
Oh my goodness!
A room on board, and if you accept it, accept my offer, you're admitted immediately."
What a great story, Diego. Oh my goodness.
I accepted, of course, and I went to the School of Engineering, School of Business, Stern School of Business at that time. And I started a little business while I was waiting the summer to get into the school, from graduating high school to going to school. And with $500, I started a lamp manufacturing company. I didn't know anything about lamp, but I met this mentor at a place that I called to find out how to make lamps. And he helped me out. We put a product together. I bought $500 worth of inventory. I rented a little basement space in my building in New York, and I started selling the product. Well, the person that I had in mind to sell the product didn't like my product because he was selling to a lower end kind of audience. So I just went down Broadway to every furniture store, and I dropped a couple of lamps in each one of those stores as a consignment to figure out what I could make this business. Well, within a couple of weeks, I started getting calls, and they said, "Come and pick up your check and bring me 12 more of your products because they're selling so well." So I started a little business. That business grew up to 800 employees. Before 3 years, I was selling to JCPenney, Montgomery Ward, all the department stores, Sears, and so forth. And I had to move several times because we grew the different facilities. And eventually I sold the company to Sears.
Okay, wait a minute, Diego. So they weren't wrong when they said that you were off the charts with business. Oh my goodness, what a great story. Okay, so now you exited, right?
Right.
How did you move on to the next stage of your life?
Well, through the process, of course, we started utilizing computer software before there were PCs out there. And my wife was working for a shoe company that was importing shoes from Brazil. And they were having all kinds of problems with their warehousing system and inventory and everything else. So she asked me to come and meet with the president of the company. I met him. They gave me a contract, and we started doing public warehousing for them. So I utilized all the know-how that we had, all the software, especially since we were shipping to all the department stores. We had all that system set up. We built a logistics system for them, and within a year, that company went from $1.5 million in sales to $350 million in 1983.
So I met your lovely wife, Sylvia. And
Yes.
so is she a businesswoman as well?
Well, she is a creative person. So she's into interior design, interior architect. So that's the career that she pursued.
Oh, great.
We got married 51 years ago, and we're still married.
Congratulations.
So I met her in high school, and she was my high school sweetheart. And we went to college together, and then she went into, of course, interior design school, and I continued my business career.
Awesome.
And so I sold that company to the organization that I was working for. We built a 200,000 square foot warehouse for them, and it was all state of the art. We were using barcodes and laser scanners and everything else before the supermarkets were using it. So it was very innovative.
Okay, so just for context, what year was that?
That was 1983.
Oh, awesome.
Then from there, once I sold that company, I went to sell computers. Since we were using computers in such an advanced way, there were many people in the industry that were not using computers yet, because PCs we had a little toy computers is what we had, and of course the big mainframe and expensive computers. So I went to work for a company that sold me the computer to promote computer usage for many small business. And since we had all that software, we were able to basically provide that software service for them if they bought the computer. So we did that for several years, and I sold that company again. And then I went into telecommunications. I went with a company in Minnesota, a public company. When AT&T and the Baby Bells were broken up, the Baby Bells had to convert all of their facility. They were copper wire to the homes to the fiber optics, which now we have everywhere. And this company, what they did was inventory all of their facilities, all the cables going from their offices to the homes. So when they change over from copper to fiber optic, they had a complete inventory in the database. So I realized that computers and telecommunications were coming together, merging into one, which today we see it. Our cell phones and everything is based on a computer. So I quit that company. That was my first job outside of being my own entrepreneur. And I started selling for a company called MCI, Long Distance Services. At that point, we were competing with AT&T. So I created a little process by which the client could use our services. So I gave them a phone number, an 800 number, a PIN, and they would call up my computers. And of course, since I was using computer, I knew how to get that going. And I created the prepaid calling cards. And I was the creator of the prepaid calling cards in the United States.
You created those? My goodness. Wow, yes. Diego.
And
I would have not known.
And that was in 1993. I took the company public in NASDAQ in 1996. And we raised over $350 million back then. And we traded our stock not only in NASDAQ in New York, but also in Kuwait and in Hong Kong. Why? Because I had a lot of investors from those areas. So from prepaid calling cards, we became a carrier. We had satellite communications throughout Latin America. We started carrying contents for Time Warner, digitizing movies, and downloading those movies to the cable company, which is now what Netflix is. Wow. Then I retired from that company in 2001. I became a consultant. And in 2006, I started real estate. I got my license, and I've been in real estate since then with a company called Keller Williams. And now I'm a partner with Mr. Williams, the co-founder of Keller Williams, in a land bank fund, which is $150 million, acquiring land to entitle it and sell it to developers. So that's my elevator pitch of what I've done for the past 72 years of my life.
Oh, my goodness. What an amazing story, Diego. I am so in awe of it. I mean, we've shared some happy hours with our organization, CCIM, but I would have never known this awesome story of yours. So thank you for sharing that. Now, I do know you to be someone who advocates for women in our industry, and particularly commercial real estate, because we're both in that industry.
Correct.
So talk to us a little bit about why you think that advocating for women is just so important in a male-dominated industry like ours.
Okay, well, throughout my whole history, I've been mentored many times by different people. The person that mentored me when I was in the lighting lamp manufacturing business was this individual that was a high-level executive, and he was working with an organization called American Women Economic Development Association in New York. And when I sold the company, I made a lot of money. I said, how can I pay you back for everything you've done? He said, no, you don't owe me anything. However, you do owe me that you have to mentor. And I'm going to bring you to an organization for you to mentor. And in that organization, I mentor over 100 women in business. And they became very successful. And I got hooked. Mentoring, and especially mentoring women, because I saw the tremendous potential that women have and the inequality that women face in this world. Not maybe so much in our country, but in other countries. Since I've been in the Middle East, I've been in Asia, I see the plight of women in most of these areas and the potential that they have that is being not realized. So I became a huge advocate for women in business.
Well, Diego, let me just say that I want to thank you for validating the fact that women are a little bit behind when it comes to opportunity. And nowadays, I don't think that people would really validate that anymore because they want to make sure that the landscape is that everybody's equal. But in fact, it's not true, not yet. But with men like you who advocate for women, I think that we have a better chance. And that's the reason why I pick and choose the men that I interview here in my podcast is because it's just so important that we have men like you. And of course, my own mentor, Robin Webb, who I have had on the show, who genuinely think that it is so important to advocate for women. So thank you for that. I want to ask you, Diego, if there was one piece of advice that you would give, for instance, to other men, what would that be?
But not to only men, but also to women. And that is perseverance. That has been the cornerstone of my life. By persevering against all odds, I was able to succeed. And it's not easy, but it's doable. And you can accomplish whatever your mind can conceive. And this is an advice that I give not only to women and men, but also to my children. My daughter is just a brand new mother, 2 months old, and she works for a company called Chanel. And she started at the bottom, and now she is in charge of the AI process at Chanel as an executive there. So I always encourage her to persevere. You're going to find a lot of discomfort in your career, to say the least. But if you persevere, you will win and you will succeed.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. No, I personally connect with what you just said, your piece of advice, because I think it's a little bit different when you come from a background that had to work so hard to get where you had to go, right? And so the story about NYU, that to me was pretty amazing. Do you have a piece of advice for advocating for women, perhaps?
Definitely. I think that what you give, you get 10 times back. And I never felt that I was wasting my time. I was investing my time and learning from those women that I advocated for and I mentor. I learned so much from them and gave me so much strength that allows me to continue in my career, in my life.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. Now you know I'm going to be applying for mentorship with you. But
Anytime.
anyway, Diego, we've come to the portion of our interview where I get to hand over the microphone to you and you get to ask me a question. So go ahead.
You're an amazing woman, and I really love what you're doing. I think this is a great thing that you're advocating for women with this new technology, podcasting. And my question to you is, how are you going to get better at doing this? How are you going to include more women? How are you going to be more successful at doing this? Because we need people like you to do this.
Well, thank you for that question, Diego.
And by the way, thank you so much for everything you do for the Real Estate Association.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I really sometimes think to myself, I could do exactly what I'm doing right now, just pursue my career, be with my family, do everything else that I feel would be so beneficial to me, right? But why wouldn't I go ahead and be an example or a model for other people?
Exactly.
I mean, I think about my daughter who's 21. And by the way, she's a brain cancer survivor from when she was an infant. And I feel so very blessed that my Lord, my God, had given her back to us. And I think about her and I think about how can I model opportunity and advancement for women for her? And that's really where it started, right? And then I think about the different layers of my experience because we're all shaped by our environment and our experiences. And I often talked about the different layers of what I've experienced in my own life. I am not just an immigrant, I am a woman, and I'm a woman of color. And those three layers have often provided a lot of challenges for me. And like you said, perseverance is what got me through to today. And I feel a tremendous responsibility to go ahead and share and contribute. And it's through people like you, Diego, and all the 40 plus amazing women that I've interviewed in the show that I feel that I have an opportunity to hopefully motivate and encourage other women to just break through whatever challenge that they're going through. And so that would be the answer to your question. And I appreciate that so much. So, Diego, let me ask you, do you have some parting words for our audience today?
Yes. Limitations are in your head. Don't allow your head to limit your potential and your achievement, because that's where it starts. It's not with other people out there. It starts in your head, because once you believe you're limited, then that's the way you're going to act. Once that limitation goes out of your head, there's nothing, no barriers out there that can stop it.
Oh my goodness, such powerful words. Thank you so much, Diego. And I hope to see you very soon, if not in Miami, which is coming up in September. I hope to see you in Houston. And
Definitely.
I want to thank you again for all that you do, not just for everybody else that you mentor, but particularly for the women that you mentor, because it takes men like you who can open doors for women like us, for us to get the opportunities that otherwise we would not have had. So thank you, Diego.
Thank you so much for allowing me to share my time with you.
Oh, this was wonderful. So I'll see you soon, and have
Thank
a great
you.
day.
You as well. Thank you. Bye-bye.